Good morning, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Deep Cut Dive, the show where we take a look beyond the hits, beyond the radio staples, beyond the selections from all the greatest hits compilations, beyond the songs included on the classic live albums, beyond the songs that the bands played live all the time, the usual suspects on the live concert set list. So basically, this is a show for all of you who may not be familiar with these bands, only know the more popular songs. Here's a chance for you to go and explore some songs that go a little deeper into some of their classic albums. Today, we're going to take a look at beloved British progressive rock legends Genesis. Again, call them progressive rock legends because that's kind of their humble beginnings. They certainly were one of the groundbreaking prog bands of the 70s. In the 80s into the 90s, they became more of like a mainstream pop and rock band, okay, but still a lot of progressive elements throughout their storied history. So today we're going to take a look at some of those songs. You know, there's the two eras here. You've got the early part of the band's history with, of course, you know, the trio of Phil Collins, Tony Banks, and Michael Rutherford, along with Peter Gabriel and Steve Hackett. Okay, so maybe not a lot of hits there, but a lot of very well-known legendary songs that were always part of their live set list, featured on the early, you know, live albums, all that kind of stuff. There's those selections of songs that are very, very well-known and legendary from the early part of the band. And then, of course, you got the second half of the band's career after Gabriel and Hackett left. You've got all those big hits, right? All those very popular album tracks, right? So we're going to go deeper than those. So let's get started here. So I'm going to start off as I normally do. I go chronologically. And before I start, I want to do a little quick programming update. So I did say last week that today was going to be on the Deep Cut Dive. Jeff Young and myself doing Fleetwood Mac. I didn't have a lot of time this weekend. I was very busy this weekend, so I didn't have time to get ready to get together with Jeff to record that show for this morning. So that's actually going to happen tomorrow morning. So we're going to get together later today. You'll see that tomorrow morning. So Deep Cut Dive into Fleetwood Mac with Jeff Young and myself will be tomorrow morning. So back to Genesis. So let's go all the way back to 1971. I'm going to go to the Nursery Cryme album. An album, you know, pretty notable in their career, especially early on in the history, especially for a couple of tracks. The song I'm going to select here for today, though, is a song called 7 Stones. All right, not one of the big kind of choice cuts from this album. A song that they played live very, very briefly. I believe they played it on their Italian tour of that year. Don't believe it was ever seen live in their set list again. But a very, very notable song, of course, 7 Stones, all right? Gotta love the kind of haunting vocal melody in the song, you know? And the changes of no consequence will pick up the reins from nowhere. Obviously, I can't sing that. And then the it's just great, great storytelling from Peter Gabriel. You got Phil Collins' excellent background vocals. I mean, it's like, you know, Phil was doing some really cool little vocal things in the band before given the reins after Gabriel left, obviously. You've got, you know, what else? Some simmering Hammond organ in this particular track. Nice little bursts of guitar from Hackett and those waves of mellotron. Just a lovely, lovely song that, again, gets overshadowed by, you know, the musical box, The Return of the Giant Hogweed, Harold the Barrel, and The Fountain of Salmacis, which are the more kind of well-known tracks from that album. But 7 Stones, just as notable, I think, from a musical perspective, and definitely a gem on this particular album that never really gets talked about a lot. All right, coming up next, from Foxtrot, 1972, this bad boy right here, my favorite all-time Genesis album, a song called Can Utility in the Coastliners. Another song that's kind of nestled amongst a bunch of other tunes that more well-known to, you know, most Genesis fans. This one is big and bright. You got the 12-string guitars all over the place, the Taurus bass pedals. Okay, you got loads of mellotron, nice jazzy drumming from Phil Collins. Then you got, you know, later in the song, you know, Tony Banks' big Hammond organ starts coming in. Hackett's looping guitar lines kind of popping in and out of the place. It's just a really, really cool song that, again, gets overshadowed by Supper's Ready, Watcher of the Skies, Get 'Em Out by Friday, those tracks, right? So Can Utility in the Coastliners, another excellent deep track from early in the catalog of Genesis. All right, we're going to skip ahead a couple of years. So Mr. Gabriel has left, go off on a solo career. Phil Collins gets promoted from behind the drum kit, although he continues to play drums, to the lead vocal microphone, okay, for an album called Trick of the Tail. Another very notable album with lots of excellent songs and some very, very popular songs played live all the time. But how about Mad, Mad Moon? All right, it's the last song on side one of the original vinyl. Okay, got layers of piano and mellotron from Tony Banks, kind of creating all these big, lush melodies. First half of the song is kind of like that. It's just this big, kind of dreamy, symphonic piece with great, confident vocals from Phil Collins. And then as the tune starts picking up, you get these big orchestral swells that keep building and building before the song comes back, ends in a nice tranquil note. Very lovely song, and just a totally forgotten gem from this particular album, which again, known for songs like, Squonk, Dance on a Volcano, Ripples, of course, which was the little minor hit single from this particular album, Robbery, Assault, and Battery, right? Trick of the Tail, Los Endos. Mad, Mad Moon, kind of forgotten on this album. Very, very good song. All right, so now we're going to go ahead to 1980 for an album called Duke's End. Another album, this one, Spawn. So here is where the band's starting to rely a little bit more on hit singles, right? Still retaining a lot of the proggy edge from their early in their career, but definitely the more mainstream sound of the band and the songwriting starting to take a turn for what we would see throughout the 80s. So the song I'm going to choose from this album, it's actually kind of a two-part song, and it's at the back end of the album. It's called Duke's Travel, Duke's End. Okay, mostly instrumental, okay, but with some big vocal melodies popping up in the song that ties in some other of the melodies from some of the other tracks on the album. It's got really, really great, keyboards and bass and drums and guitars going on there. It's a good homage to some of the earlier material the band was playing, so they still wanted to throw some prog rock things on this album, and there are, but a lot of them were saved for this particular song here. This particular track was played live on the Duke tour, okay, but then basically retired from live shows. So it's the last two tracks on the album. Like I said, they kind of all part of this. It's all kind of like one long song. It's about 10 minutes long between the two parts here. But then once this tour was over, the song kind of retired, kind of forgotten, but definitely a great deep cut. And it's deep all the way at the end of the album. A very fine album, I might add. So last up for my final pick, we're going to go to the 1983 self-titled Genesis album for a song called Silver Rainbow. And again, another one of these albums that had a lot of hits on it. Songs played on the radio, stuff appearing on MTV, all that kind of stuff. But this particular song is called Silver Rainbow. All right, and it comes pretty late in the album, all the way down near towards the end. It's got a great Phil Collins vocal on it. It's got good pop hooks, but there's still plenty of kind of like simmering prog rock arrangements. Okay, lots of really cool keyboards from Banks, kind of driving, mostly program rhythms, but still pretty cool. It's got, it's upbeat, but it still has that kind of mysterious, kind of atmospheric edge to it that a lot of the classic Genesis stuff had. And again, comes on an album that, it gets overshadowed because, you have That's All and Mama, Home by the Sea, Illegal Alien, Taking It All Too Hard, Just a Job to Do. I mean, all these songs, pretty notable tracks. I mean, this was a huge selling album for the band. I think this album sold like 4 million copies plus here in the States alone. But, Silver Rainbow, kind of the forgotten, hidden, deep cut from this particular album. So there you have some cool selections from the Genesis catalog. So obviously, longtime Genesis aficionados know all these songs pretty well, but the main purpose of the show is to appeal to those who may not know these bands all that well. So if you're a somewhat of a casual Genesis fan and you really only know those songs you heard on the radio, definitely the two early Gabriel era songs are going to be of interest to you to check out, to see, maybe this this band is worth investigating for the stuff prior to all the big hits coming out. And maybe some of the Collins stuff, you only know the hit singles. So here you got some songs that go beyond the hit singles. I mean, the focus and the goal is that hopefully you will investigate some of these bands beyond the greatest hits CD or album you might have, or beyond the live album, or just beyond the stuff that you heard on the radio. Maybe you just never bought any or never listened to anything beyond what you heard on the radio. So here's a chance to go check out 5 really cool songs from the Genesis catalog that go way deeper than the popular stuff. So like I said, for those of you who are big time fans as well, recommend 5 other tracks from deep into their catalog, non-popular songs for those who are new to the music of Genesis. So there you have it. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. So like I said, coming up tomorrow, we've got Jeff Young and myself doing Deep Cut Dive into the music of Fleetwood Mac. All eras are open and available to us, so we're going to try and pick some selections from throughout and see what we come up with. Also coming up later today, probably later this afternoon or tonight, my interview with Kim Simmons of Savoy Brown. You don't want to miss that. So legendary British blues rock guitar player who has been thrilling us with many albums and live tours for 50-something plus years, and he shows no signs of slowing down. They've got a new album coming out next month, which Kim and I will be talking about later on today. So you don't want to miss that, so stay tuned, and we'll see you guys later on. Have a good one. Bye-bye.